Okay, I'll admit, I didn't expect a performance like this from Bengals running back Chase Brown either. Sure, it was Carolina, but 80 rushing yards on 15 carries is pretty ridiculous. And would you believe me if I told you this was only his third most efficient game on the ground this season? Finding the end zone twice was just as impressive. If Brown was in free agency before this week, chances are you or one of your league mates added him as soon as humanly possible. But if you weren't able to get him on your fantasy team, I'm here to tell you, don't sweat it. It may be time to pump the brakes on the Chase Brown hype train. There are a few factors that play into this, such as competition for carries and Cincinnati's offensive strengths. Before we dive into any of that, let's take a look at the film. So diving into the first play here, we're going to see how good of a job the interior of this Bengals offensive line did on Sunday, clearing the way for Chase Brown to have a career best game. So these three right here, they're going to be some of the most important players on this particular play. They're going to do a great job clearing out the interior of the defensive line, as well as the linebacker. And Chase Brown is basically going to have one of the easiest touchdowns I've ever seen. Not to say that he didn't earn it, he did a good job getting in there, but the offensive line did a lot of heavy lifting on this play, something you really love to see out of this Bengals running game. So let's go and start the play. In motion, ball is snapped, and just look at this hole, man. 65, I think that's Kappa, just a phenomenal block here. We have two other interior offensive linemen working upfield here on two other defenders, one of them the linebacker. Chase Brown, just an easy path into the end zone. Only one man to get around and a whole lot of space to do so. And you'll see he practically just walks in right there. Touchdown, his first of the day, of course, so. And again, just a dominant rep from the interior of the Bengals offensive line towards the goal line here. Chase Brown has an easy lane to hit and just an easy touchdown. They're going to bring the tight end in motion. And watch those three guys in the center of the offensive line. Just great reps and wide open hole for Chase Brown to hit. Touchdown. So right here we're going to see Chase Brown run behind the tight end, rookie Eric All, who I think we're going to be hearing more of in the coming weeks. I think his role is going to only grow. He's been really impressive as the Bengals rookie tight end. And then of course the left tackle here. Brown's going to find the hole, run through there, and we'll see it as the play develops with some really good blocking on the edge there. One more thing I want to say is the acceleration that Brown has is just clearly on display. He's able to go from 0 to 60 in a very short amount of time. Something that's really important for a running back that can have those big plays like Brown can have, as he showed here. So start the play. Here's a snap, pitch, and right there, I mean, you see the good blocks, the tight end all right here on the edge rusher. We have good blocking all throughout here. And Brown has an easy lane up the middle. Unfortunately, he gets a little bit tripped up, but still a good rep from the rest of this Bengals offense, and Brown just accelerates super quickly right here through the hole and just gets tripped up, but really good rep, and his acceleration was clearly on display. We'll see it one more time from the big play threat running back. There's the pitch, and there's the acceleration right through the hole. Just really impressive stuff. And as you can see, he was a little frustrated there too, not being able to rip off that big run, but still a good rep. Our next play, we're going to see another solid blocking rep from the Bengals tight ends. This time it's Eric All again, but we're going to see a lot of good patience from Brown in the running game. He's going to do a good job getting through the offensive line's blocks initially, waiting for something to open up, and then following the hole. That's a good quality to have for a quick, efficient running back like Chase Brown, so looking forward to seeing more of that in the coming weeks. In motion is Sample. And then here's a solid hole on the initial offensive line push. And what we're going to love to see here is All just drive into this pile of bodies and push it farther, making this lane wider for Chase Brown to hit right into. And there's the drive from the tight end, and Chase Brown just plunges through that hole with that acceleration we saw in the last play. Really impressive again, great rep. We'll watch one more time. 83, the tight end, just really opens up everything for him. Good patience right there, then the patience to let everything open up after the tight end makes the block. Just running behind his blockers, not getting ahead of them, and showing tremendous patience. And really that's a veteran quality he has with just his second year in the league. So here's a goal line rep for Chase Brown. And really his job isn't too hard here. He does end up getting in, and that's because the edge of this offensive line, as well as the tight end Eric All and Jamar Chase, do a nice job stealing this edge, leaving him basically one-on-one with the DB when he's already pretty much a yard away from the end zone at that point. So all he has to do really is just truck forward, and he has an easy touchdown on his hands. So we'll see that here. There's the snap, and right here, yeah, again, good blocking from Jamar Chase, Eric All. This edge is really sealed off for Chase Brown to get around. Again, the one-on-one here, Mike Jackson, the corner number 2, is heading straight to meet him right where he wants to go. So instead of taking an outside edge, Chase Brown decides on the goal line it's time to use the physicality and just break right through to the end zone. So yeah, great job driving through the defender, and another rushing touchdown for him. But yeah, really good blocking as well. So And really, when you see something like this, basically the whole Panthers defense getting manhandled by this Bengals offensive front, it's basically an easy touchdown. Again, not to say Chase Brown didn't do any work, but just to say a lot of the heavy lifting was up front and done very, very well and executed almost perfectly on this play. He's only left with one guy to beat, and he does it by going right through his chest. The DB still lays a pretty nice hit on him, but again, not much you can do when you're matched up with a running back, basically on the 1 or really the half-yard line. So yeah, it just goes right through his chest, and touchdown. So I like this play design here. We're going to have all the tight end motioned over to the right, and then the ball is snapped. It's going to be a shovel pitch to Chase Brown. He's going to take it to the right at first and then cut up the middle. And really, this rep shows a lot of patience and a lot of vision again. Blocks really great, and he followed them perfectly, not getting ahead of his blockers, staying behind and waiting for the holes in that defensive front to develop. Good blocking all around, and Chase Brown did a really nice job navigating the play as a whole. So we'll start it here. They're going to motion Eric all across. There's the pitch. And right here, I want to focus on one specific offensive lineman, number 65 right here. Just drives his defender into the ground, creating a clear lane for Chase Brown to run through. And this play is really a match made in heaven. You have Chase Brown's acceleration, an offensive line that did a great job creating a clear lane up the middle for him to accelerate quickly and gain just a ton of yards again, something we've seen all day from all the blockers really. Again, number 65, the main blocker on this play. Keep watching him and watch how Brown navigates the rest of this play. There's the drive to the ground, and Brown, contact balance, bounces off and gets a couple more yards. And this angle will be a lot better, of course. Tight end in motion. There's the shovel. And right here, we're seeing this block here. We just open up this hole wide open in the middle, and then Chase Brown can use the contact balance and the vision to navigate the rest. Really good stuff. Makes a couple defenders miss. Even when he has the hand tackle on him, is able to spin out and gain a couple extra yards. Love to see that, the yards after contact there. So again, a dominant job from this Bengals offensive line on this Panthers defensive front. Chase Brown doing a great job using those physical tools like his acceleration, and the great traits he has with the vision and the patience as well. So again, this play, I really like the play design. We're going to see a trend start here with Eric all being brought in motion on a lot of these running plays. He's going to be brought in motion before the ball snaps, and as the ball is snapped, this right guard here is going to be brought with him, trailing slightly behind, and together they're going to bury number 53 here, who is the edge defender, and Brown is going to be able to easily get around this edge and then make another defender miss by making a cut outside. So good rep overall. Brown showing a bit of the shiftiness, and again, Eric all and the offensive line doing a phenomenal job creating space for Chase Brown to work with. Here's the motion from Burrow. We're going to see the play start, and right here, we see number 65, the right guard, and Eric all, the tight end, bury this edge defender, and then Chase Brown is easily able to get around this edge. We'll see how the rest of the play goes. Gets around the edge, and then jump cut to the outside, and J.C. Horn breaks the tackle, keeps going to the sideline. So we'll watch it one more time. Tight end brought across, number 65, they bury that edge defender. Chase Brown easily gets around, jump cut to the outside. Just no stopping that play, especially when that Bengals front played with so much chemistry on Sunday. Looked really good overall, and that just allowed their offense to keep rolling throughout the entire game. Because you have to remember, this was a Panthers team with momentum. They had just come off a 36-22 victory over the Las Vegas Raiders, a really impressive showing from Andy Dalton in his first week starting in week 3, and the Bengals had just fallen to 0-3 the week before, so the Panthers had all the momentum heading into this matchup, and the Bengals did a good job on all phases of the offense, not just running the ball, but the rushing attack certainly helped. So before we go any further, I'm going to tell you guys about the Fantasy Trading Room official Discord server. And basically what this is a completely free to join fantasy football trade advice center. As you can see, we already have a ton of people in here, and a lot of them post questions about trades in their own leagues, and people can vote on them, give their own opinions, and help each other out with these fantasy football trades. We have a chat room for redraft leagues and for dynasty leagues as well, and overall it's just a really great place to chat football and discuss fantasy trades with other fantasy football fans. It's been a lot of fun so far, so if you have a question about a trade in your league, or just want to talk football, join the Fantasy Trading Room official Discord server with the link in the description. So yeah, again, a really impressive showing from Brown. We saw the patience, we saw the acceleration, we saw the vision, and we saw how he can be a big play threat on any play. And something that's also super important, we saw the Bengals offensive line creating plenty of space for him to work in. But before we get too deep into this analysis, let's take a look at the running back who's being a little forgotten after this week. That's fellow Bengals running back Zach Moss. Chase Brown isn't the only back in this backfield, and it's only fair to look at the film from both running backs. After all, Zach Moss was brought in for a reason. He had a really impressive year last year with the Colts in relief of Jonathan Taylor. Who knows, maybe this could be the next Thunder and Lightning duo backfield in the NFL. Almost similar to Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Not exactly, but similar. Let's check out some of Moss's film from Sunday against the Panthers as well. So starting off with some of the film from Zach Moss, we're going to see a goal line carry, and the field position was really similar to the field position of Chase Brown's first touchdown, which we looked at the beginning of the video. It'll be a little bit more of an outside run concept than Chase Brown's touchdown, but unfortunately we're going to see Zach Moss get stopped in his tracks, and that can be attributed to the offensive line. We're going to see a clear difference in how the blocking holds up between Chase Brown's first touchdown and Zach Moss's first goal line attempt. Here's the snap. Again, more of an outside run. We're going to see him bounce it outside at first, but the Panthers played this super well. They have these two guys hanging over the top. I think this is Shaq Thompson. He's going to do a really nice job filling the gap for any kind of cutback lane that might open up as Moss goes further down the formation. And of course, there is a defensive back on the outside in case he continues to run this out. So the Panthers defense plays this a lot better than they did in the case of Chase Brown. And honestly, it was probably easier for them to play it better because it was an outside run versus an inside run on the goal line. So there was more time for the linebackers to react and diagnose the play. So again, Zach Moss just gets pushed back by the guys over the top, and there was never really a cutback lane for him to get into, and there wasn't really a way for him to find the outside either. He had no chance of getting around the edge in the first place. So we're going to see the play start. There's the handoff. So over this direction, there is a DB right there cutting off the outside, and right here, Shaq Thompson is burying any cutback lane that Zach Moss may have been able to take if he decides to slice this upfield. There's going to be a linebacker right there in the gap waiting for him. So already right here, there's not much hope for Zach Moss on this play. Again, a lot different than the Chase Brown goal line touch we saw earlier in the video. And again, just buried at the end of that play there. So not really much hope. So here we're going to see more good stuff out of the rookie tight end Eric All. He's going to motion over to the left side, and he and again number 65 are going to maul this edge defender, driving him into the ground, making it impossible for the edge to make a play on Zach Moss as he goes around on the outside run. Moss is going to break another tackle, but here's the issue. The wide receiver here does not do his job blocking the defensive back upfield. Moss is given no space to work with after he breaks a tackle, and he really has no choice but to go into the defender's chest. Because the poor block from the wide receiver presented a really tough situation, Moss may have been able to break to the outside, but the distance between Moss and the defender was so close by the time Moss broke the first tackle that there wasn't a ton he can do about it. And again, he was running towards the closer sideline, so not a ton of space to work with in the first place, bringing Eric All in motion and the right guard as well, and they just maul this edge defender, and Zach Moss is given a really clear lane upfield. But watch out, here comes the linebacker Shaq Thompson, who's going to try to tackle him and end this play early. Zach Moss says heck no and breaks the tackle right there, but right after he breaks the tackle, here's the next situation he's presented with. Again, the wide receiver wasn't able to block J.C. Horn very well, so Zach Moss has two fairly uninspiring choices to go with here. He can either A, take to the sideline, where he's not in the best position to beat Horn there, I mean he's probably going to get tackled, or B, cut up the middle, but then eventually get tackled by number 47 here, so he tries to plow right through the chest of Horn, and to be fair, doesn't do a bad job with that. I mean, he's 220 pounds, so that's going to be one of his strong suits, but again, not put in the best position to succeed on this run. He'll push right through and get a couple extra yards, but again, yeah. So we'll watch one more time from this angle. All the tight end brought in motion, and buries the edge defender with number 65, breaks tackle from Shaq Barrett, plows through the defender's chest, and not a ton of space for Zach Moss to work with there. So starting off, we're going to see a bit of an interesting play from the Panthers defensively. So they're going to start with this two-high safety look up here, up the field, but then one of them is going to fly downhill, rotating into the center of the field, and they're going to have a one deep safety back here. And so obviously this is going to be a Zach Moss run, so that's one more defender he has to deal with in the box. The wide receiver is going to take J.C. Horn in man coverage up the field this way, and we're going to see a bit of a screen developing over here with blockers out in front, which occupies these defenders over here for a second, leaving space for Moss to have kind of this wide open middle space of the field. The only player that could be a threat to Moss is Shaq Thompson, the linebacker, but he's playing a bit off, and the offensive lineman puts a block on him here. Unfortunately for Moss, that block turns out to be a hold, and this play is called back. But nonetheless, Moss does exactly what he's supposed to do on this play, follows the blocks correctly, and gets a lot of yardage with a ton of green grass in front of him. So good stuff here, and we'll go ahead and start the play. So as you can see, there's a lot of green grass here. Unfortunately, here's the hold right here on 67 Volson, but Moss is going to be matched up with this defender, and he's going to break the tackle and get to the outside. Here it is. Breaks the leg tackle, gets the outside. Really big gain, of course. Not sure if the defense was ready for the run here, and it would have been a really nice gain if not for the hold from Volson. Kind of unfortunate there, but good stuff anyways. We'll watch it again. Ball's going to be snapped here. Wide open hole. Puts the angle on the safety. Gets the sideline. Unfortunately, there's the hold, but still a good play from Moss. Here's another really interesting play from the Bengals. They're going to have all these receivers run all the way downfield, causing the entire defense behind here to move back, creating a ton of space here. Moss is going to start pass protecting towards the outside and then bounce out, ready for the pitch. He's going to have a ton of space in front of him to operate after the pitch is completed. Sort of a simple design, but really works to perfection here. So here's everybody being taken downfield. I mean, you have so much space right here. They just check down option right here, and here's Moss on the outside. He's going to start to block and then come off to the side. There it is, and there's Moss on the left side. Pitch from Burrow. Moss, a lot of space to work. Drives his shoulder into the defender and gets some extra yards. I like the play design. They're getting Moss involved in different ways. Again, there's the pass block to Moss. Takes to the sideline, lowers his shoulder, gets some extra yards. That's some good stuff right there. So the reason I picked this play is we're going to see the really good reaction time from Moss here. 94, the defensive tackle, is going to get a lot more push than the Bengals want him to. He's going to find his way pushing himself into the backfield where Moss is. Moss is going to make a really nice jump cut. I mean, he isn't given a lot of space to do it because of how close he is when that pressure gets in, but still is able to barely get forward for a couple extra yards on what really should have been a blown up run, but Moss makes something out of nothing and finds his way through the middle of the offensive line. Even after this play is kind of messed up, Moss is able to crawl forward for a couple extra yards, and really just that nice jump cut at the beginning is what I would focus on. Play starts, Yoshivas in motion, and there's the pressure from 94. Moss plants his feet in the ground right there, makes a nice jump cut, and then just gets driven by the safety, 25, but still a good play. We'll see it one more time here. 94 on the right side of the defensive tackle, gets pressure, and there's the jump cut for Moss, and pushes through, gets some extra yards in a play that was really tough to do so. Here we're going to see an outside run from Moss. They're going to bring the tight end Eric All across. He's going to come through in front of Moss and hopefully get upfield to block a defender, and this right side of the offensive line does a really nice job opening up a lane for Moss to get through on this outside run. Unfortunately, Moss outruns his blocker, something that highlighted that Chase Brown didn't. Chase Brown showed a lot of patience in this game, but Moss kind of outruns his blocker here. I think he could have had a bit more patience and gets chopped down on what was a solid game but could have been a better one, I feel. All comes across number 83, and right here, some great blocking by these two linemen. Number 61 just burying his man, and we see the clear hole for Zach Moss to get through. Eric All is going to come in front of him. We see a pretty obvious situation. The defender's going to come downhill, and hopefully Eric All is going to get a block on him, and Moss is just going to run through for a massive gain. But unfortunately, Moss kind of outruns All, giving the safety an easier play than he would have had if he had to get around the block. Right there. And you see right here, Moss could have maybe hesitated for just a second. I mean, there was a defender grabbing him from behind, but maybe just a second longer to get Eric All on this block and to get around him. Would have been a way bigger play, but still solid gain, but Moss is tackled right here. And again, just outruns his blocker. And we'll watch it one more time. All is brought across. There's the handoff. Good blocking from the offensive line. All is out in front, but kind of just outruns him and gets tackled by the safety. So could have been a way bigger play there. But not a huge critique, but still something to look at. So not much to this play. We're going to see Moss come out on a swing route kind of out here. Higgins is going to block, and he's going to be one-on-one with a defender with the goal line right in front of him. And he's going to kind of slip but then regain his balance and push through the defender and get in for the touchdown. The Bengals get him involved in the passing game a lot, and they do that again here with the block from Higgins and just one man around the edge to beat for the touchdown. Gesicki in motion. Ball snapped. We're going to see Zach Moss. There's the ball, and you see it set up here. The DB right in front of him. No one else really has too much of a chance of making a play on this. Moss catches the ball, slips, and then pushes through, barely reaching in for that touchdown. So good stuff there, getting in for the touchdown. We'll watch it one more time. Matched up one-on-one with the defensive back. Slips, regains his balance right here, but then pushes through, and that contact balance, even in a bad position, gets into the end zone. Good stuff there. So here's Zach Moss in a passing play. He's going to begin to pass protect over on this side, but then as pressure starts to leak into the pocket, he is going to get outside the pocket, waiting here for Joe Burrow just to pitch him the ball basically as a last-ditch effort, but the defense totally forgets about Zach Moss, so he's going to have so much space in front of him after he leaks out of the offensive line after the pass protection. And so basically in the last-ditch effort, as Joe Burrow's pretty much running for his life, he pitches it to Moss, and he has a ton of grass in front of him, and he runs for a huge gain. So good awareness there from Moss, not good awareness from the defense, but it works out in the Bengals' favor. And right there we see an offensive lineman falling down. There's immediate pressure on Joe Burrow. Moss leaks out. As he sees the pressure coming in, Burrow has to run around, scramble, and then finds Moss wide open on the other side of the field, and he gets a huge gain out of this. So really good job by Moss being aware. There's the pass block in the beginning. After that, he's going to leak out here as Burrow has to continue to run for his life this way. He's going to leak out and just be an obvious passing option across the field. Burrow keeps running, and then he's going to find Moss other side of the field. He's going to have a ton of grass in front of him. Huge gain for Zach Moss. So in regards to the film, we saw two very different running backs, both of whom are having very good seasons in Cincinnati so far, and are making a really good pair that makes this running game really dangerous for opposing defenses. And yet, Chase Brown had a really good week, but the fact remains that the Bengals don't really have a reason to move on from Zach Moss in the running game. And don't let the Chase Brown hype train fool you. These running backs had the same amount of carries in week 4, and Zach Moss even out-snapped Chase Brown 60% to 40%. I mean, after all, Zach Moss is the more involved pass catcher. So far in 2024 through 4 weeks, Zach Moss has played 91 passing snaps, while Chase Brown has only played 39. So it's obvious in a passing situation, the Bengals have tended to go with Moss on the field instead of Chase Brown. And there are other reasons to keep Zach Moss on the field as well. So far, he's been a better pass blocker than Chase Brown. He's had a lot more snaps blocking than Brown, and has had a higher PFF grade through 4 weeks as well. So Zach Moss obviously has a role as a pass catcher and a pass blocker. And just in general, I think the Bengals benefit from having diversity in the style of running back they choose to deploy. I think Chase Brown's more of a quick, accelerating running back who has really good patience and is a home run threat, while Zach Moss can be your pass catching, pass blocking, more of a power back who's also very explosive. I think Chase Brown and Zach Moss are both going to continue to be fantasy relevant going forward. I don't think one's going to overtake the other to the point where it becomes just a one-man backfield. So that being said, I think you should temper your expectations for both going forward in fantasy football. Now, Chase Brown should absolutely be rostered. He showed that after this week. But I'm not sure if this type of performance can be sustainable. I'm not sure if it's going to be an every week thing. And again, Zach Moss has outsnapped Chase Brown every single week this season. The gap is getting smaller, and I think it's getting closer to a 50-50 split, but I think Zach Moss is going to continue to be involved even if Chase Brown's role slightly increases. Like I've said, I really like this duo in Cincinnati. I think this has the potential to be a really good Thunder and Lightning duo, and can make this running game in Cincinnati dangerous again like it was with Joe Mixon over the last few years. Chase Brown should be rostered, but if you already have him, maybe consider selling high. It might be tough for him to repeat this kind of performance. Again, nothing against the player. I just think the opportunity is going to be a bit less because I don't think they're going to move away from Zach Moss all that much. Shifting topics here, we can even talk about the Bengals offense as a whole. They're more of a passing offense. They're well into the top half of the league when it comes to pass attempts per game. They have Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, a couple of solid tight ends, and some young wide receivers under those first two options I mentioned before in Yoshivas and Burton, who could continue to contribute and make this passing game even more dangerous. So when it's all said and done, I think the Bengals are going to continue to be a pass-first team. That's their bread and butter, and I think that's what they're used to, and they have the weapons to do it. Still, it can't be understated, Chase Brown had the better week of the two Cincinnati running backs. He was far more efficient and had 2 touchdowns compared to Moss's 1. But I'm not sure if his value is going to increase to the point where he can be starting on your lineup every single week in fantasy football. I'm just not sure if that's in the cards this year. Again, I think Zach Moss is going to continue to be involved, and both running backs are going to be a part of the game plan on a weekly basis. Because this backfield is so split, I think it might be tough to start either of them unless you have an issue with bye weeks or injuries that cause some of your bench players to go into your starting lineup. But again, they're definitely both worth rostering. Chase Brown definitely has a lot of hype right now, making him a solid sell high candidate in fantasy football. Not saying he's going to absolutely tank for the rest of the season, but I think right now is a good time to sell him at his peak. I really hope you guys enjoyed this film breakdown of Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Let me know what you think in the comments, and remember to go join the Fantasy Trading Room Discord server. Link is in the description. I'm Joe, and this is Fantasy Trading Room.